Hi guys, so Kent in the southeast of England is sometimes described as the Brexit ground zero. It voted overwhelmingly, almost 60% in favour of leaving the European Union back in 2016, and it's also the home of Nigel Farage. Now, Boris Johnson got his Brexit deal done. He got Brexit done. He got his deal. Now we're a few months into post-Brexit Britain. Let's see how people in Kent, or at least fishermen in Kent, feel about how things are going.
Towns such as Broadstairs now have become synonymous with the Vote Leave campaign, with the charismatic Nigel Farage frequently seen with a pint in his hand or out at sea. In every case, grand promises of a better life were made after leaving the European Union.
Something that makes me very angry is that Nigel Farage, in the run-up to the referendum, and even years before that, went to these communities, not just in Kent, but all over the UK, and he told them, you need to vote for Brexit. Things are going to get better the day we leave the European Union, or at least when we leave, things are going to get better. You're going to be able to control the waters, and you're still going to be able to fish. You're going to be able to fish, and you're going to still be able to sell your fish wherever you want. The European Union need us more than we need them. And these fishermen and these communities believed him, and they voted for Brexit. And now they're suffering the consequences of that vote. But instead of being angry with Nigel Farage, they seem to be angry with Boris Johnson to a certain extent, but also the European Union. Now, isn't it interesting that Nigel Farage has not returned to these communities to explain, well, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. I told you a lie. And what's very angering for me is that these people are not angry with Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage was the face of Brexit, and he has not suffered the consequences of that. He has not suffered the consequences of his lying.
But fast forward a few months since that Brexit deal was agreed, and the reality seems very different. Many fishing fleets in Kent say they are in danger of folding and are facing ever choppier waters.
We have completed the biggest trade deal yet, worth £660 billion a year.
This was the scene in December as the Prime Minister got his Brexit deal over the line and vowed to take the country forward. Gift-wrapped and just in time for Christmas, it was meant to finally put questions to bed and we'd start seeing some answers. But I met up with John Nichols from the Thanet Fishermen's Association. Through issues around fishing quotas, where boats are allowed to catch, and exports on things like oysters, he says the deal has sold his fleet down the river.
In what kind of state do you think the fishing industry has been left after Brexit?
We're not in a good place. It can be rebuilt. If it carried on the slippery slope it's on now, I don't know where we will be in 10 years' time. I don't think we would have much of a fleet. There was lots of promises. A lot of Brexit was about the future of our waters, taking back control, and it's not happened.
I understand that they were told you're going to take back control, but the problem here is not control. I'm not an expert on this, but I can clearly see that the issue is not control. The issue is exports. Now, some Brexiteers talked about exports, some did not. The clever ones, probably including Nigel Farage, avoided talking about exporting into the EU because they knew it was a lie. They knew that the UK would become a third country. And you have to remember that Boris Johnson's Brexit deal is much better than the type of Brexit deal that Nigel Farage would have wanted. He promoted a clean break Brexit, which is basically a no-deal Brexit. In that case, the fishermen would be facing not just extra paperwork, they would also be facing tariffs on their goods, on their exports. So goods would become more expensive, not just more difficult to export. But these people seem to blame just the idea that they haven't taken back control of the waters. What's the point in controlling waters if you can't export the fish? And it's important to remember that most of the fish caught in UK waters is exported, not consumed in the UK. Most of the fish consumed in the UK is actually imported. This is the problem. And these people either don't understand it or they're trying to avoid it.
The government insists the Brexit deal is great for the fishing industry, both short and long term, and gets control of our fisheries back.
There is going to be more control of the fisheries, and this probably will be the case in 2026. But if your business is struggling at the moment, and the government are telling you, you just have to wait another 5 years, this is frankly insulting to them. But even if it were the case, as I said before, you could fish as much as you want, where are you going to sell it if you have to pay extra costs for the paperwork? You need health certificates, veterinary certificates. This is the problem. The paperwork is the problem. And some industries, like mussels, certain mussels, cannot be exported because the UK is a third country.
The fishing sector only counts for roughly 0.1% of the UK economy, so should it really have the negotiating weight it's called for?
I mean, we could argue that, of course, about all sectors of the economy. Add those all small sectors together and they become a big part of the economy. And I think, in a sense, because they were seen to be only 1% of the economy, they didn't have the bargaining power that other sectors of the economy had to get a better deal.
It was actually not 1%, it was 0.1%. There's a bit of a difference there. But isn't it interesting that the fishing industry represents such a small section of the economy, but it was amplified so much during the negotiations? The European Union couldn't understand why the UK was focusing on fishing when they said, look, why are you focusing on fishing? It represents so little to your economy. They did so because Brexiteers knew it is a sexy issue. It's something that will get people interested, get people on their side. We're standing up for these fishermen. This is the general public have a romantic image of fishing. I don't understand why, but they do. Even people who live in cities wanted to make sure that the fishing communities are protected, that they have access to the waters. The Brexiteers knew this and were willing to throw the fishing community under a bus in order to maintain this facade that they cared about Britain, that it was something that was important for Brexiteers.
Kent's only Labour MP Rosie Duffield is also on the EFRA committee, which means she gets to quiz the Secretary of State on the issue of fishing. Rosie, your constituents were calling for a deal that would withdraw us from the EU. The government's delivered it. Surely there has to be winners and losers to get that done.
They have every right to feel really let down. They were misled. They were told they would get their quotas back. They'd get control.
This is extremely frustrating. Even the Labour Party, I understand she can't go against Brexit, but the problem here is Brexit. It's not Boris Johnson's deal. If Boris Johnson got all the quotas back, if Boris Johnson got control of all of the waters back, it wouldn't make a difference for some of the fishing industry because they can't sell. What is so difficult to understand about this? I don't like the fact that the Labour Party are playing games here. They understand that the problem is Brexit. Just call it out as it is. The people voted for something that they didn't understand. The people voted to make themselves poorer. Just call it as it is. People, I think, should be old enough, should be mature enough to understand that they were conned. Nigel Farage conned you. Tell the public this. Boris Johnson lied to you. He told you everything would be okay. Things are not okay. Keep it simple. Nigel Farage told you everything would be great. Where is he now? Stop listening to Nigel Farage. Stop listening to Boris Johnson.
They'd be able to fish in whatever bits of the waters that you negotiated, and then they were just left, basically, without any support, and they haven't been thought about.
They haven't been given any support. So you want taxpayers' money to fix a problem that Brexiteers created. Brexiteers lied, and you want taxpayers' money to help these fishing communities. I understand the fishing communities are suffering at the moment, but is it right to take money from people who voted against this? Maybe people who live in cities or other parts of the country. I'm not focusing on the urban vote versus the rural vote, but there are people who voted against this, and you want to take their money and spend it on a fishing industry that continues to believe that the deal is the problem, not Brexit itself.
So they do feel betrayed. They have been let down.
But Boris Johnson did what he set out to do and managed to get his Brexit deal over the line. And many will argue the predictions of doomsday and trade chaos proved to be nothing more than fantasy and scaremongering.
Okay, a lot of this, the lack of the lack of problems faced at the border is because of the pandemic. We're going to see how Brexit really is impacting as we go forward. Now, it's also important to remember that media outlets like the BBC will downplay the consequences of Brexit. And in many cases, Brexit is like a slow puncture, especially when it comes to the financial sector. We're not going to see, a newspaper article saying disaster. This is a gradual approach. This is going to be, as I said, a slow puncture. We're going to see the damage done over a long period of time. It's sad that the people of Kent are suffering because of Brexit, but I really wish they would be angry with the right people, Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and others, and not the European Union. The European Union did not vote for this, and many people around the rest of the UK did not vote for this, but they are also suffering the consequences. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?